Okay. So next, question 3, I believe. We're going to be dealing with these things called strings. And I may have introduced them last time. I'm not sure. So the way a string works is it's just a way for us to store a word or many words inside a variable. Also, I noticed that my mouse isn't being recorded, and which is quite a shame. I don't know how to change it in Shadowplay because I like pointing at stuff with my mouse, but that's okay. Let me zoom in here. So just as a quick review, we have these things called variables. So for example, there's the integer variable, which basically stores a whole number inside whatever you name here. So if we have like int a equals 1, and then we say like print line 1 or a, it will print 1. I'll just do that as a quick review. So basically we create a variable a, okay, and then we're gonna put a value of 1 in a, which you can think of as like you make a box and then you name it a, and then you're putting the value of 1 inside of the box. And then what we're saying here is we're gonna pull whatever value is currently stored inside of a, and we're gonna print it out. So you can think of like when this is called, or when we say like when something is called means that we're executing the line that it's done on. When this print line method is called, actually we don't know what a method is. We'll get to that later. We can think of like the computer as like seeing, okay, a, let's go up to a and see what the value of a is. And you can actually change it. So like this would print out 1. Let me print it out. This is kind of taking a while. Sorry. So this would print out 1, as we can see over here. What we could do as well is say a equals 3. And then this is going to change the value inside of a from 1 to 3. So now if we print line, we can see that it's going to be 3. That's just something. We'll get more into that later because that's not as important. The reason why I'm reviewing over this is there's another variable with a capital S called string. And what string does is it stores a word as opposed to a number. So we could do string str, which is like short for string, equals hi, smiley face. And then we can print that out. And I learned this sysout control space. Control. Okay, sure. str, right? Okay. And then now if we do this, we'll see that it says hi. And you do need these quotes right here because, one, this basically tells us that it is a string, because if it's not here, the compiler, which is what like combines all the code together to make it work, wouldn't know if you're trying to like type something here, like maybe you're trying to like make a variable. So it's really confused on like what these symbols mean. So that's why we say we cover them with like quotations, because we want to tell the compiler like, hey, this is a word, don't try and like read this as some weird code. Okay, so question 3, we can actually pull up the question list, which I found. So question 3 is going to deal with simple output, which is going to involve strings. So we have print line, printf, and then whatever the heck this is. So we'll go over all of this. So the first one we're going to do is print. So we're going to get rid of the print line here, and let's just make our string be like a. So that's just easy for us to read. So if we do this, and then we print it out, we'll see that we get a. Okay? Now I'm going to change it to print line, and let's see what we get. We get a again. So what's the difference? Well, the line means that after we're done printing whatever is inside the parenthesis, we're going to say anything that we're trying to print after this is going to go on the next line. So we can demonstrate this by doing only the print method twice. And this is going to print a. Whereas if we change this one to print line, then we'll see a, because it's going to print what's here, and then because it's print line, after we print that out, it's going to make a new line. So it's going to do a and then new line, which means that we're telling the computer, okay, anything we print out after this is going to go in the next line. So that's what we do there. Now here's a good question. What's output when we do print and then print line? And let's just do it and then explain it. So it's going to be AA again. Now, why is this? Well, remember, print the line part where you're making a new line is only going to occur after you print whatever is here. So for the first example, we don't have any print line. So all the characters afterwards are going to be on the same line. And then here, remember, it's going to print whatever inside the parenthesis first, and then it's going to make a new line. So there, you can kind of think of there being like, whoops, wrong one. You can think of there being like a line. Oh, actually, we can see right here when, like, you can see my cursor. There is a line right here. We just can't really see it because there's nothing after it. So then, if we did system.out.print again, now we'll see that it will be on the new line because after this one's done printing, and everything else will be on the next line. So that's really all there is to it. So you can think of there like just basically being another line. Whenever you do print line after the stuff that's inside of the parenthesis. So this would be and then technically there's a third one because print line string will print A and then it'll make a new line, and then we go to the second one and it will do the same thing where it prints A and then it does a new line, and then there's the third one here and there's nothing there for us to see it, but it is there as we can see by our cursor allowing us to go there but like not go any farther than that. I'm pressing the down arrow. Okay. So we already got this and this done, but what about printf? Well, before we do that, I'm going to actually go over the weird stuff you see right here with these like slashes, because it's kind of weird. So let's see, let's just get rid of this string. Okay. So there's another way actually. So let's just have A, and then let's do system.out.print A. So if we print this, we should get AA, which is right. But there's another way to do print line. Like let's say we don't want to have print line here for whatever reason. It will make sense in future examples. Why? Well, there's another way for us to tell the computer that we want to print a new line. And that's inside of your string, so inside the quotation marks, you put /n, the backward slash, which is the key above enter, and then n. And these two in combination, so you can't have one without the other. If we just do "and," it's just going to see the word "and." When we do this, this is called like a new line character. So this one right here is called an escape character. I'm not exactly sure why. I guess because you're escaping it being a word, the next letter. I don't know. But basically, these two together say, hey, computer, /n is saying that after this is printed, we're going to make a new line for any string afterwards. Now, so if we do this, this is going to be the same thing as A, and then on the new line A. But we can even do something more interesting, is we can get rid of this line entirely, and then do A, and the computer will only read one letter after the backward slash for this. So it'll be or for a command. So this A is going to be like a part of a word again, like a string. Only this part right here in the middle is counted as like a command. So if we do this, even though this A is on the same like command as this A, so this second A is on the same command as this first A, they'll be on separate lines because this second A occurs after the /n, which is telling the computer anything afterwards is on a new line. Okay. Another one I see, which I don't see here, because there's /n, and we'll see what these mean soon, is /t is the other one. And this is like, you can think of it as a tab. So this will like put a tab space in between whatever is here, which is kind of neat. And there's actually more. So if we search up escape sequences in Java, but it's probably the same in most because I think Java's built on C or something. And then we go over to here. We can see there's a lot. Okay, these are spoilers. We'll get to this soon. But like we have /t, we have /b. What the heck is /b? Well, it says it's a backspace. So that means if we do, I'm just going through these quickly because I don't really see these on the exams that much. I didn't even know /b exists, so I don't like. You're getting with some weird result right here. I don't know. A lot of these are really strange. So this is the new line. This is called the carriage return. And you may ask, like, what the heck does that do? And let's run it, and we'll see that it kind of looks the same as the like new line. And you can kind of see right here there's this extra space, whereas if we just do /n, oh, it's also there. Okay. The reason why I'm unfamiliar is because I don't use carriage return. I believe I searched it up in the past. It's something to do with the operating system, but you're not expected to know that on the UIL computer science exam because it's not the UIL operating systems and architecture exam. So that's it. And then there's also something called the form feed. I don't know what this is either. I think I knew at one point and then I just kind of forgot because I never used it. Let's see. / and it's like the same thing. I don't know. So don't worry about them. Just worry about /n, which will make a new line, and /t, which will make a tab. Okay. Well, here's the question then. What if I want to print the character /? If I do this, as if I just want to print it out, we'll see that there's an error, and that error is because it's saying invalid escape sequence. Because it's thinking you're trying to call the command /a, which doesn't exist. It's not one of the ones on the list that they have here. So what's the solution? Well, it's actually really weird, but you just put another /. Oh, sorry. And then we'll put a afterwards. So what this is saying is, Mr. Computer, or Mrs., I don't know, we're going to tell, the // is like saying, as an escape, that like this next / is not a part of a command. We're kind of breaking it out of being seen as a command. So it's the same thing with / exclamation or quotation marks. Because like if I want to put a quotation mark here, well, remember your string is going to be between two quotation marks. So the compiler is going to see this and say, okay, this is the string you want to print out. But then because it's reading that, now there's a random a which isn't a part of a string, and then there's this quotation mark which normally would be the end of the string, but now it's the beginning because this one is the end suddenly now. So this third quotation mark is now kind of making this a string, which is really bad because now you're breaking all of your code. And the compiler even like kind of says this, where it's like, hey, you're missing a quote. So now you do this. Now you're missing a parenthesis for the end of the print line, and now you're doing this, and it's like, oh, okay, well now there's an a, is a big crazy mess. So the way we just fix that is we say, hey, if I'm going to put a backward / and then a quotation, this is telling the computer that this quotation right here is not the start or end of a string. We're just trying to print out the character of the quotation mark. And it's the same with an apostrophe. We'll see that an apostrophe is used slightly differently, where an apostrophe can only surround one letter. If you do more, let me get rid of the error. So like we have this. So if we like put one more letter, now it's gonna have the red curly lines because it's probably gonna say something about like invalid character constant because it only tracks one character. And then you fix this by doing this. Okay, so if we want to print a quotation mark, we would do this, the / quotation, because this is telling the computer, hey, I literally do want to print out the quotation. I'm not trying to end a string. I don't know if you can hear that train. I'm sorry if you can. So now we have that, and it's the same thing with the /. I don't know how I keep doing that. Okay. /d. So we have that, and then there's the quote, like this. So this is, I don't know actually if this is something you'd see on Invitational A. This may be too basic. Let me check out this one. No, actually, yeah, this is something you will see on Invitational A. Maybe even Invitational B. Yeah, it's also on Invitational B. So literally just knowing this, like these, that what a string is, and then knowing like your /n, /t, and like / quotation mark and stuff, /, that will get you this question on an invitational. I highly doubt on district though. Oh my god, even on district. Okay, so in some districts you may even get it. If you're at regional, you are not getting a question this easy, okay? But I mean, you're good up until like April for just knowing this, so that's great. So what is the one that I'm forgetting? Well, that's printf. There's another way we can represent this. I don't think it will be on the exam, but they could, and I could justify it being fair. But printf basically says, well, it's actually kind of weird. So let's like print something out, like hello. I can't believe this actually works. But what we can do is then put another parameter, like 23. Now this doesn't cause an error. Okay, so if we do print line and then do this, it's not gonna work. Okay, because print, like, what you have this one, you have this what's called a parameter, which is just the data you put inside the parenthesis to make stuff work, and then you have the %23. I don't know what that is. So it's kind of weird. So how this works is it's called print formatting. So normally, if we want to like write fancy like words and stuff, it's really hard to with print line. For like, what if you want to round something to 2 decimals? Like, how do you do that? I don't know. There's a lot of complicated things that printf is able to solve. So the first parameter, the data you put inside the parenthesis, will be some sort of word. So we'll do results of contest or results of test. Okay. Like this. And then your second parameter, which you separate by this like comma right here, will be something you want to fit into this line that you just typed out. So I'll just print out like 99. Okay, so you got a 99 on your test, right? This shouldn't do anything. It should just say results of test. And the reason why is that we need to tell printf where we're going to put this 99. And the way we do that is with a %sign, and then we want to say what type of data we're trying to fit in. So in this case, we're trying to fit in a decimal number. Wait, no. I'm going to pull up a cheat sheet for printf because that's what I use. You can just look at this before an exam and you should get pretty familiar with it. But it's something like this. So ignore all this gobbledygook. Okay, we're going to worry about the conversion characters. So yeah, this is a decimal. I don't know why it's a decimal integer. I mean, I guess because it's base 10, but that's kind of misleading. So a decimal integer, which basically means it has to be a whole number. So we would do %d because this stands for decimal integer. So now if we run this, we'll get results of test 99, which is quite nice because now we're just basically putting in whatever data we need and we're fitting it into the string. There's another one called floating point. So this means like if you have something with decimals, so either the variable called float, which I haven't really taught, and the one you'll see a lot on a Java test, which will be double. So I actually don't know. I think it would just be 99. Okay, so it's going to crash. That's awesome. Okay, so sometimes they'll ask you why something won't work on a test. So it says illegal format conversion exception. And this basically means like we're trying to say that %f means that there will be a decimal, and we're trying to fit in something that doesn't have a decimal. So printf's like, hold up, you can't do that. So if I do 99.0 and then run it, we'll see that this doesn't work. And we get some ugly decimals right here, which we probably don't want. We probably like want 1. So there's a little bit more. We can fit in a character, which you don't really see that much. So like you could do like, let's say we want to fit in the character C here. You could just do %C. Oh, I guess I shouldn't do it. Let's just do the letter D so we know they're separate. So you could do %C, and this is saying to fit in a character at this point. So I'll fit it in. And the other one you'll see a lot besides %D and %F is %S, which stands for string. So this will be like results of test. It's actually summer, so no score, smiley face. I don't know. And then if we put this in, now it'll fit this entire string right here, as we can see right here with our console. So that's cool, but this isn't really useful because we could just like, you know, type it, or we could do something called concatenation, which I'll teach later. So that's interesting. So what can we do? Actually, there's one more thing I want to say. So if you do %n, this is the same thing as doing /n. It's literally the exact same. So I'll do it like beforehand, /n, and then it will do like this, the whole like break thing. But you can also do %n, and it will do literally the exact same thing. And sometimes people will say they use %n because it's more compatible with printf, but it doesn't really matter. So let's go back to a floating point, because this will be more interesting. So let's say a result on our test was an 85.9 blah, blah, blah. So we got some ugly numbers here, and maybe we only want to express 2 of them. Actually, let's say the results of our test was like 34,585. Okay, and then we got some ugly decimals, and we really want a clean number, because if we like jam this in, this looks like really ugly. Okay, so there's a few things we can do. So if we go to our cheat sheet, we'll see that there's the %. So all of this is kind of like talking about like what you're going to do when you put a %. So notice that like the conversion character is the thing we were typing earlier. So basically we can put 3 other things like in between this % and this f to kind of specify what output we want. So the first is called a flag, and this basically will do stylistic things. So for example, by default, this number will be right justified, and we'll see what we'll be able to see what that means more in a second, because it's not entirely clear right now, but we'll get used to it. The first one I want to introduce is the decimal. So I don't think I can just do %.f, yeah, because like unknown format, because like the way that this works is if you put point and then something, this will say how many decimals you want to round to. So let's make like 956. So then if we put to 2 decimals, then this should round up to 0.96, which it does. So this is a lot nicer. If we want to basically round the decimals, you do % and then point and then how many decimals you want to round to. Okay, and then before that, we can say how many spaces, like let's look at the cheat sheet and see what it says, how many spaces we want it to occupy. So wait, actually, is that here? Okay, sorry, I'm a little rusty. So this is like the point precision, so I'm actually talking about this. So I guess like probably width is what I'm talking about. I don't memorize this really, I just like kind of do it so I kind of know how to make something happen, so it's kind of hard to teach it for the first time. So how this works is, if we put a number beforehand, this will say how many like spaces we want our number to occupy. So if we do 5, we won't really see a difference. And actually, if we do less than 5, I don't think we'll also see a difference. Yeah. But if we do more than 5, like let's say we do 9, this is going to do something neat. It's going to make a bunch of space for all the numbers that aren't, or for basically like making padding of spaces. So what I mean by that is, let's like put a period here just to track wherever this starts. So we can see that we specify 9 spaces here for this whole thing to take up. And we see that this only takes up, the number itself takes up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we're 1 character short of 9. So what it will do is fill in the 9th one with just a blank space, as we can see here. So this total is up to 9. And now you may be able to understand what right and left justify is. So if we signify that we want to left justify it with a minus symbol, that's what the left justify is, what we're saying now is we don't want the space to be on the left side, we want the space to be on the right side. So we'll see that the number is now touching the period, and now there's an extra space here on the end. Whereas when we get rid of that, it's the opposite, where the spaces start on the left side until you get all these numbers. So there's some weird ones which I don't really use, but maybe you should know them for the UIL. So there's a plus, which I'll put a plus or minus for a numerical value, or numerical. So like, let's see, minus. Let's see what happens. Or no, I have to put a plus. My bad. Because that's the left justify if I put a minus. My bad. So if we do this, this will say that's positive. 3, 4, 5, and then we'll notice that this positive now takes up an extra space, so now there won't be an empty space. Whereas if we probably make this negative, then it will automatically adjust it to say negative. Cool. And I think those are really the common ones. Forces a numerical value to be 0 padded. So I think what this means is we put 0, 9. this says that instead of putting a space, we're going to put a 0. So just any way that you would have an empty space, now we're going to fill it in with a 0. And now the last one is a comma. And this is saying that we're just going to put commas for every 3 like digits, which is really nice when you're reading this. So now this will be, 34,585.96. And notice that the space is gone again, which means that this percent takes up a space. So the decimal and the percent do take up a space when you're talking about like your spacing with the 9 numbers, which makes sense. And I think that's it. There's like precision, which we just covered. There's decimal, and then there's just some examples in this cheat sheet. But I go here a lot whenever I forget what something does because it kind of helps me. But hopefully that's good enough, and this should be enough to help you answer the question.